All right, welcome to Arctos, the first training session where we're going to go over how to manage your collections metadata. So this is usually done at the beginning of the creation of a new collection in Arctos. But it also should be updated and reviewed, annually or whatever schedule makes sense, and certainly whenever there's new staff to um, be reflected in the collection metadata. So I am going to walk through where to see this information and how to manage it. So you do need to have a certain set of permissions to do so, but this is typical collection manager um, uh, abilities here. So let's just dive right in. This is um, the Chicago Academy of Sciences, one of their records here, and I just wanted to show you some of the elements in the uh, header that is controlled by the collection management metadata. So things like the background and the words, the logos, these are all customizable per collection. So whatever you apply to your particular collection, it'll be applied to every single collection record. And you can see these details. You can see how this changes actually if we just switch this over to a different collection. This is the MVZ's herp collection. Um, so you can see that, in this case, the collection chose a different background and different color for their lettering. Um, and the collection metadata is always available in the collection detail page, and you can see that when I click on that, it actually gives me a stable URL, so this can be referred to at any time. There's also a handy way to clicking it. By the way, I forgot to mention that I actually am logged into the test Arctos, so we're going to be exploring that. That way, if I'm changing things, don't be alarmed. This is only happening on test, which is a good place to try out your own, collection management details like the header, if you want to see how that looks. Um, More importantly, though, I wanted to kind of review some of the information here. As I mentioned, a lot of this stuff is set when your collection is created. So you can see things like, the collection or the institution acronym, the general type. Um, the, these are set by code tables. So, we try to keep things sort of at the discipline level, but you can always request a new one. This is free text. Most of the collections used, very similar language. Um, and you could also put in your website links if you have a website dedicated to that particular collection. More importantly, though, for outside users is to know people like the data quality contact, which may be the same as the administrative contact or the person who's the loan, you can make a loan request to. And then there's, lots of contact information available at these agent pages. Um, we also have some general license requirements. These are much more relevant if you're also sharing it to outside aggregators because they need to know how to treat your data. So this is for the external types, and again, these are sort of set by code tables and they're common, Creative Commons licenses, or maybe you have a copyright, so you don't have Creative Commons there. You can also have your specific loan terms or terms of use. Um, these can be updated as you have new, maybe a new loan policy that's now posted on a new website. So you might want to have that linked right up front. A lot of this other metadata here are the kinds of data that get shared with our global aggregators like GBIF. So that's just a quick overview of the collection details. But let's talk about managing these collection detail page. So the most important part probably for ongoing updating are the staff contacts because people retire, people move on, new people come on board. So to manage any of this information here, which we'll go through, the first thing you need to do is move over to your tools directory. And under your tools directory, internal settings, there'll be a manage collection link. And if you click on that, oops, sorry, if you click on that, let's do that right now, you can select your collection that you want to manage. So I'm just going to keep going on with the herp theme here. And let's see, here we go. And this is a typical one. I decided to show you one with some warning labels here because frankly, many of you guys will see this, and I don't want this to be alarming. But most of these are um, sort of not, you can actually kind of continue to ignore them, but you'll still be nagged about them. So this is a typical one because it says here the administrative contact does not have an email or a GitHub or is not an active operator. So those are all the typical things that we would expect from any of the contact names here, but that's not always the case. So let me just go through this systematically and we can discuss a little bit about that. So again, this table kind of reflects a little bit about what you see on the stable metadata page on the collection details. So you can see a lot of this Arctos collection information. This is set when the collection is created. It really should not be changed. And if you feel like you want to have these changed, I would strongly suggest you contact, the staff first, just to make sure that, the things that you want to change won't break anything. Some of these things are pretty obvious though, because like I said, these are sort of free text and these are from drop downs. But again, making some of these updates could have some serious ramifications moving forward. The collection contacts is where we really want people to, pay attention every once in a while. But this is also where our warning is getting generated. So you can see our administrative contact is simply our director. That's just, the default for all of our collections at MVZ. But he also is not an operator, doesn't have I could add in his email. He doesn't have a GitHub, but these aren't things that are deal breakers. And you can see that I can immediately go and look at his profile if I wanted to and see information about him. Oh, actually, I guess he does have a GitHub. What he doesn't have is being an operator, and that's the main thing. And I could also go ahead and edit those, but we haven't sat down and figured that out. Same thing with our loan request, who's another faculty curator who hasn't logged in with the new tax system. But everybody else is complying and are active operators. And so the only ones are these particular ones. But those are things that should be addressed eventually. And then you can see that there's actually no particular limit to the number of data quality or administrative contacts, which are the only two required roles here. So you can add more than one data quality person if that suits your institution and collection. The collection header is where we control that customized banner for each specimen record. So you can see that you can have a specific logo added to Arctos. If you need assistance in resizing and doing other things, then, file an issue. Then we will eventually get your logo uploaded to the database, and you just need to refer to it right here. And then there's a lot of other things that you can adjust here. We have the collection uh, identified in the banner as the herpetology collection, and then we have a direct link that banner here you can see is hyperlinked to a website, and we also do the same thing with our institution name, so it's kind of up front and center. But like I said, if you go and review a lot of other Arctos collections, you can see there's a wide variety of what people say and how people treat it. I will say one caveat, you're perfectly free to do whatever you want, but I would strongly suggest that you at least change the header link color to something other than the default. Um, if you leave it as the default, what happens is it just defaults to HTML rules. So every time you click on it or somebody clicks on it, it changes the color of the web link from blue to purple. And that, you know, um, isn't always desirable. So you can just simply put black or white if you have a dark background, and just the changing that the term right here. Um, let's just change it to black so you can see what that looks like. Um, that'll sort of at least set it to a default here. Oops, am I not in the? I think it's not, it needs a little, we've got some aggressive caching going on. So I think this is, but this will change to black, for instance, or white. So that's my recommendation. And if you can't decide, you can also use this to help find your color. You don't need to know the actual hex code, but this is how you would go generate one if you want to dynamically. So, and that's what this normally takes is like you said, this what they call the hex code, and it's just, uh, um, allowing the your browser to interpret what color to display. Um, Most of these other things are, like I said, pretty straightforward. I wouldn't worry about any style sheets. We're no longer really relying on those. So Arctos has its own sort of built-in one, and that's what you're contributing to when you're adding in this information. The license and terms, again, are things that are set usually during collection creation, but you may want to update your loan policy links, and that's where that would happen right here. And then we have a number of other sort of collection defaults. The most important one, though, are the authorities. So this would be an area where there would be probably constant, or not constant, but more frequent updates. So let's take a look at one of those because, like I said, this is one of the more confusing portions. So in one scenario, let's say you've requested a new part name and it's been added to the code table. But it still doesn't show up in your data entry form. So you would like to add that, and this is how you would control it. So if you can see, I went to my manage collection, I just hit the collection settings, and it already opens up this authority collection code table. I can select any of the collections that I have access to, and then from here, I can go and sort through here. So let's just see what's been selected. All of these should be all these columns rather are sortable, and you can see that several of them are in use. Once they're in use and they've been used in some data entry or record, they cannot be unchecked. And so you can see a number of these right here. But then you could see that there's a number of these that have been recommended because other herpetology collections, we've identified this as a herpetology collection, have used them as well. So this kind of gives me a quick way of checking them. But you don't have to check them because maybe your collection never deals with limbs. You'd like to have all your organisms whole, for instance. But you can add them in later. Um, So there's a whole number of these that you can select, and you can just by simply select them and hit save, and then it'll show up in all the other relevant places in Arctos. But you can see there you have access to all of the other ones that are also available, even though they're not particularly relevant to your discipline. But maybe maybe you'd still like to select them. So you can go through this and select, other ones for your different collections, and uh, that should help any collection manager sort of fine tune the kinds of code table authorities that are available for their collection. Um, let's see. Let's go a couple more levels here. We have, again, some summary information. These are typically shared also with our uh, aggregators like GBIF. Um, and these shouldn't be changed again because these GUID prefixes are used when we go and set up harvesting bots, for instance, to GenBank or other outside repositories. Um, so if you have any questions, you should ask about that before those are changed. But again, most of the time, we set them up at the beginning of collection, so they don't change that much. Um, and these are sort of some legacy collection attributes that we have that, again, were pretty much set by these global aggregators, but you may want to also have these updated. They're completely optional, however. Um, and Most of this run through is also captured in this handbook page, which is now linked on the table. So I was reviewing it for anything that needs to be updated, but it's mostly a detailed walkthrough through all the different fields, so you can review that and have uh, um, some guidance to the particular, things that you're adjusting. Um, I'm going to stop the recording now for the demonstration portion and open this up for questions.